Small towns hold secrets that would make your skin crawl, and what happened in Dovewood last year proves that sometimes the darkest stories aren't in fiction. They're hiding in plain sight.
That's such an intriguing way to put it. What exactly went down in Dovewood?
Picture a town of just 604 people, so hidden in the forest that GPS can't find it. One diner, one church, and a post office that closes before most people take lunch. The kind of place where 3 generations of families live on the same street and everyone knows which floorboard creaks in the general store.
Hmm, sounds like one of those places where nothing ever changes until something does.
Exactly. It started with Charlie Mays, found face down in his chicken coop with blackened lips and a bloated body. The official report said heart attack, but Charlie had just passed his physical with flying colours the month before.
Well, that definitely raises some red flags. Was it just an isolated incident?
That's what everyone hoped, until Mrs. Langston, the retired high school teacher, supposedly drowned in her bathtub. Here's the kicker. There was barely an inch of water in it. By May, 7 people had died, all labelled as natural causes.
You know what's fascinating about this? Small towns typically have a mortality rate 40% lower than urban areas. 7 unexplained deaths in 3 months. That's statistically impossible for a population that size.
And then the environment itself started to turn against them. The river became thick as soup, glowing an unnatural green. The tap water turned brown. Even the weather patterns changed, lightning striking on cloudless nights, wind coming in bursts like some giant creature was breathing just beyond the tree line.
That reminds me of similar environmental anomalies reported in other isolated communities, like that town in Alaska where the entire bay turned purple overnight in 2016.
But here's where it gets really interesting. A stranger arrived, started staying in an old hunting lodge on the outskirts of town, tall, pale, wearing a black coat in summer heat. Never spoke, never came into town during daylight.
So what happened next? Did anyone try to investigate?
A local writer named Eli Mercer started documenting everything. He'd watched the stranger from the woods at night, taking notes. One evening, he got too close, and the stranger looked directly at him through the darkness as if he could somehow sense his presence.
That's absolutely chilling. Did Eli keep investigating after that?
He did more than investigate. He started seeing things. Shapes in mirrors that shouldn't be there, voices in the trees calling his name. Meanwhile, the town kept unravelling. The sheriff disappeared, the church burned down, and they found a deer walking in circles with milk-white eyes.
You know, there's fascinating research about mass hysteria in isolated communities. When Harvard studied the Salem witch trials, they found that social isolation amplified collective fear responses by nearly 300%.
That's exactly what makes this case so compelling. Was it mass hysteria, or something more sinister? Eli wrote everything down in a piece called The Stranger in Dovewood and distributed copies throughout town.
I'm guessing that didn't go over well with whoever, or whatever, was behind all this.
2 days later, someone broke into his cabin and destroyed all his research. But here's the thing. They didn't steal anything, just tore up his notes and left his door wide open like a warning.
That's a classic intimidation tactic, similar to what happened in Point Pleasant before the Mothman incidents.
The last anyone heard from Eli, he was still there, watching from his window every night, convinced he was the last one who could see what was really happening. He wrote that the stranger wasn't someone who brought the devil. He was something worse, something that burrows into a town like a seed and waits.
You know what's truly terrifying about this whole thing? The idea that there might be other Dovewoods out there, other small towns slowly being consumed by something they don't understand.
And that's the real horror, not knowing if your quiet little town might be next, if that stranger might show up one day wearing a coat too heavy for summer, waiting patiently for everything to unravel.
Well, I think I'll stick to my noisy city apartment where at least I can blame the strange sounds on my neighbours.
Sometimes the scariest stories aren't about what goes bump in the night. They're about the silence that follows,